Hi, this is Scott Trout, CEO of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. There are many life changes that can happen after divorce that make it difficult or impossible to uphold requirements of your divorce decree. The orders issued in a divorce are based on the facts presented at that time, but the circumstances used in issuing those orders can obviously change. If you feel a modification to your court orders might be necessary, talk to us at Cordell & Cordell.
Contact CordellCordell.com, 1065 East Hillsdale Boulevard, Suite 310, Foster City, California, 94404.
I have no clue what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I got plenty.
Okay.
Brian's on
Got
it.
plenty of stuff.
He is the man with the plan.
Got plenty of stuff.
You're listening to The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Firing it off right, Brad.
That was
With
Brian
some
Moote.
Rasta horns. Who invented that, you think?
Who invented the horn?
The Rasta horn for the DJ.
I have no idea.
It's a good question.
It sounds very reggaeton to me. Brad, I have so many questions for both you and Shireen Thor about, well, I just spent a weekend with my family, my mom, my godson, and my girlfriend, and I'm in, for what was a great weekend, I'm now like dealing with the fallout of stress, of people who are tired, of entertaining a child. So let's start at the children part.
Okay,
because
that's easy.
I need you guys to settle a courtroom debate about whether or not I screwed up in my relationship with my girlfriend, and I don't want to get into that first. How in the hell do you have any intimacy with your partners when you have a kid anywhere near in your house? Like, how is that possible? Because I'm not even kidding you. The first night that we were down at this beach house, like as soon as I had my girlfriend's shirt off, my godson was knocking on the door.
Oof. That sounds so hot. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, I'm into that.
He has asked me where a towel was to take a shower at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, dude, wait, why are you asking me?
My trick is this. Desensitize yourself entirely to the fact that there is a kid around. Do it anyway. Shireen, you're up next.
Honestly,
Just go for it. Grip it and rip it like a driving range.
I mean, we just really wait till the kids are asleep. Sometimes we'll wait till the 1-year-old's asleep and like the 3-year-old's in front of a movie that we know will occupy her. But
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where my daughter Declan would be in the shower playing with ponies, and we're like, you want to bang this out or what?
Do you guys even like take your clothes off, or is it just kind of like pants only?
Depends.
it depends. Yeah,
You have time for?
just never know what'll happen.
I mean, as a married person, you guys, neither one of you have had sex without your socks on for like the last
That's
4
not
years, right?
true.
I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have time to take your socks off.
That's a myth.
What, did you have time to get fully undressed?
I personally hate
Oh, no.
socks. I will not sleep with socks, so I cannot sex with socks either.
See, I respect Brad's philosophy of just go for it, because I'm not even kidding you. It was like, I felt like I was in the middle of a hostage negotiation with my girlfriend about like, she's like, do you think they can hear that? I'm like, no.
Chill.
Probably. And you know what? For all I can do, I don't care if they hear it anyway. I don't know what's going on in here.
Oh, Brian had sex in front of a child.
No, he was outside the room.
Oh.
Brian Moote is a stand-up comedian. Brad Nolan is a stand-up dad. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Just in case you didn't understand who's talking and when, we'll clarify that now. My name is Brad Nolan. The show is also features Brian Moote. It is, in fact, the Brian Moote Show.
That's me right there, man. DJ Brian.
Wonder who's on that sound effect.
Well, I only know that that's the button, because I haven't labeled any of the buttons on our fancy equipment yet.
In the studio with us is Shireen Thor.
Coolest last name in the business.
Yeah, she's married to Thor.
That's right.
And she took his first name as her last.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty strong move, man. Never been cooler than like if you were Shireen Spider-Man. It's like, oh, I guess who your husband is.
Also, we now have a new website, brianwithbrad.com.
Sweet, we're official.
So legit.
All right, I need a court ruling on this situation with my girlfriend.
Okay, here we go.
It all involves some Twitter DMs.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, but it's not that bad.
Okay.
Well, that's my case.
Make your case, sir.
All right, so my girlfriend left last night on a red-eye flight back to Atlanta. And we had a long weekend. at the beach, family, friends, sneak ninja sex moves, try to be stealth. And I think everyone was just a little frayed and tired, and I had devoted a lot of attention to not her, and so I just think she was a little frustrated and a little tired. So, gets on an airplane, she flies through the night. I wake up this morning to a phone call at 3:45, and her statement was, "Who the hell is Casey?" And I'm like, I don't know who I don't know. I don't have any idea, and also I know better than to incriminate myself at that time in the morning. I don't know what you're talking about. I need to do some more information gathering.
Who is Casey?
A friend from Tacoma, Washington. She used to work for the PGA golf circuit. I've known her for like 10 years. That's who it is. I didn't know who she's talking about. But she sent me a screenshot of Twitter messages from my own Twitter account, from my own DMs. And I was like, well, one, how did you get my Twitter message DM? She's like, why does that matter? And I'm like, well, we'll get back to that later.
Yeah.
Because right now,
argument, but we'll get back to
exactly.
it.
Exactly. I found out why. She told me why. She was mad at United Airlines for like screwing around with the baggage coming off the airplanes and stuff and taking forever. So she was gonna open her Twitter. She hasn't tweeted like ever, and she was gonna fire off a heated tweet at United. But my Twitter was logged into her account, and she happened to press the envelope button.
She happened to.
That's what she's
Wink,
been very
wink.
good. She's been very, very, very good about never snooping in my social media and stuff like that, or even looking at my likes and things, which could be problematic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, probably for all of us.
Right. So she finds this direct message conversation, and it looks like I start the conversation, which isn't fair because my friend Casey, who lives in Tacoma, was in Los Angeles and was listening to the radio show and tweeted at me like, hey, this is crazy. I'm hearing you on the radio in Los Angeles. So then I liked the tweet, and I was like, oh, man, I haven't seen her talk to Casey in years. She's married. She's got a 12-year-old daughter. Like, oh, I wonder why she's in L.A. for. So I messaged her, Owens, that's her name. How are you? And she wrote back, great. I keep hearing your stuff when I'm out in L.A. Loving it. Hope life is treating you well. And I wrote, that's awesome. Life is great. How often are you in L.A.? Are you doing golf stuff? Then she wrote, I'm in L.A. about once a month. I work for a property management company and travel down there for a few times, mainly Hermosa Beach, Malibu. When I'm doing stuff, the only golf I do is blah, blah, blah for fun. Do you still do stand-up or just radio? Sometime when I'm in L.A., maybe I'll be able to catch a show when I'm down there. That's the end of the conversation. I do not reply again.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Now, she was upset with me because she felt like I was hollering at this girl to set up plans, and she does not know this girl. And so she was like, why are you talking to this girl that I don't know, trying to, like, what it looks like you guys are like on the verge of setting up plans. Now, I would say to her, I was like, whoa, I didn't ask her to come see me do stand-up. She threw it out there like, hey, if you're still, like, if you're still doing stand-up, maybe I can catch you at a show sometime. But I just thought to myself, am I in the wrong for this conversation? Or is it just, are we in a victim of just tired nerves and seeing a conversation out of context where you don't know the people?
All right. Brian, thank you for your testimony. It's time now for Shireen and I to play a game called Is Brian a bad boyfriend or not?
I mean, that's a little bit unfair.
Okay, here we go. Your
times.
testimony is over. Shireen, where does Brian sit on this situation?
Okay, so
It's getting really intense.
I'm like, oh my God, I've really got to give an answer here. No,
Yeah. You don't have time to mess around.
I think, so here's the thing. Like, it just sounds like she's feeling generally insecure. It just sounds like whatever happened with the Godson and the family, and it might be, like I've had this before where I am with my husband's side of the family. How long have you guys been together?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Okay, so that's pretty solid. I think
Year and a half.
I think maybe Kenny and I were like pushing a year, maybe like 7 months, and I went with his family, and I did at one point feel insecure because it's like I don't really
spending
fit
too
in
much time
here.
not with them.
Yeah, like I don't really fit in here.
I blew it on that one. I did blow it on that one, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of time entertaining my 11-year-old godson and swimming around on the beach and stuff, and just kind of trusting that she'd be go with the flow, easy breezy, down to kick it with everybody. And she at one point said, I feel like I'm on a date with your mom, and I was like, whoopsies.
I have an interesting opinion on this only because I've done the thing that your girlfriend's accusing you of before, like way back in the day.
Right.
So my wife is always leery about social media.
Yeah, and I've been caught up a
Rightfully
little
so.
bit early on in our relationship with like conversations
Yeah.
with people on social
Exactly.
media that I shouldn't have been having.
Really?
So I think in your case,
Full disclosure.
here's the thing. I think in your case, this one is okay. Be careful in the future. But is she done with this? Did she react to this? Is she cool now?
She cooled off about it. And also,
Okay.
the win I take out of this is she had access to all, and still does, to all of my Twitter DMs for the lifetime of my Twitter. And that was the one that was the red flag. That's called a victory for this guy.
Boom.
Bam!
Brian spent plenty of
Yeah.
time deleting DMs.
Whoa, maybe.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
My name is Brad Nolan. I host the show, which just means I throw the ball to Brian a lot.
Alley-oop jams.
Brian Moote is in here too. Go ahead and do your air horn if you like.
Now, you know what? I'll lay off the air horn for
Okay.
1 second.
All right, I'll do it.
I wanted to have you just rip off one of those big old smokers coughs that you had right before the mics came on.
F you, buddy. And then also in the studio is Shireen Thor.
friends.
Shireen Thor. We last segment talked a little bit about Brian got into a DM situation with his girlfriend, as in she saw his DMs, wasn't too super stoked about it, but it ended up being kind of innocuous or whatever. Shireen's take on that was that your girlfriend is insecure.
I would like to point out one. I had one of a little bit of a mix-up. You ever say something and then your girlfriend, because girls are like quicker and sharper than you, and they catch you slipping on one statement, and then they latch onto that one, and you're like, oh, you minute, oh, that wasn't what I meant. So this morning at 3:45, when she was, I wouldn't say confronting me, inquiring about who this Casey was, that she had seen the direct message conversation one, which was a pretty benign one. I've known the girl forever. But it was, she goes, look at the conversation. And I go, on Instagram or Twitter? And she goes, are you having conversations on multiple platforms? And I'm like, no.
You are one pathetic loser.
Just foot in mouth immediately. Before we get into all the like security stuff and how I'm going to fix my relationship, because I really need help with that. But have you ever had, when you and Kenny started dating your husband, did you guys have, there is a gray area when you start dating someone, especially in the social media era, where you have been, dating apps and whatnot, you've been maintaining a bunch of like kind of gray area relationships. Did you guys ever run into that right out the gates where you weren't quite sure how serious the relationship was? I know guys live in that gray area. Did you guys have any of those?
We totally had those. It was so annoying. That phase is annoying. For the girl, maybe not for the guy. I don't know, but for me, it was super annoying. It was probably
It's annoying when we get busted.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the annoying
like
part.
honestly,
With you on that one.
that phase was like it was like we dated for 5 months before we called it exclusive. He had just gotten out of this like soul crushing thing, and I was like,
and he's playing that card. Like,
He was
I
still playing
I
that
gotta
card.
like, ease into this. I don't want to
100%.
rush into anything. I need time. Oh
Yes.
God, I
I
played
need
that one
time to handle these
1,000 times.
DMs.
yeah, right, exactly. But then he still wanted me to like meet his mom and his sister, and he would like take me around his friends like I was his girlfriend. And I was like, dude, we're either in or we're out. Like, you're confusing me. So we had that conversation like twice where I was like, are we in or are we out? And then he just kept pulling the card, the I can't do it quite yet card. And then I secretly told myself that if we hit the 6-month mark and didn't have commitment,
Ooh,
that
line in the sand day.
I didn't tell him this, but
Oh,
I was like,
secretly.
dude, I will, without words, be out, and that will be it. But we got there at 5 months, and so
I'm going to actually walk you through his thought process on that next.
Here we have Brad Nolan
can't wait.
I think my daughter is probably the coolest thing that I've ever done.
and Brian Moote.
Kids are monsters, and especially when they're honest with you.
Just two boys living in a Barbie world. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
My name is Brad Nolan. Brian Moote is here.
Hello, I'm here every day. Air horn central.
And Shireen Thor is in the studio.
Sep.
Shireen just told us that she, her current husband, they had dated for 5 months. He was doing the whole, I don't know, I
Yeah,
just want to
been
take it
there.
slow. But
I
here's,
made a career out of that area.
yeah, ooh, years, right?
Yeah. I had a whole decade where I was getting over a breakup.
For sure.
Bastard.
Freshly out.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can do it yet.
But if you stick with me. But the thing that stuck out to me in what you were saying was he said, but he still introduced you to his parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm kind of getting from that is that he knew you were wifey material.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, no, I definitely want to keep this one around.
Yes.
But I'm going to need to clean up all the fun I'm having, and I need roughly 5 months to do so.
Right.
And so once it was cleaned up, the following Monday, he made it exclusive with you.
I don't like this theory. It's not cute.
It might not be cute, but it's reality.
You think so? What do you mean clean up the fun? Like finish screwing all the other girls?
No. I don't
he's
mean
been
actually.
dating?
No, I don't mean actually physically do, but probably.
I mean, okay, you break them into like which girls you can ghost on, and and they'll just go away, or which girls like you need to give some sort of kind of a breakup to because they could be a ticking time bomb and could all of a sudden explode. You guys are a month in, and all of a sudden this girl's like, "Where the hell have you been? What happened? And you're like, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, who is this chick who's blowing you up right now? And he's thinking, ooh, that was one I needed to like have some sort of a conversation.
Out on that one.
Right. That's what he's meaning. Because we do, I mean, with all these apps and things, I mean, it's just allowed us, it's too many things. It's just, you're swiping, you're messaging, you're Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're sliding into people's DMs, you're doing all this sort of like passive, guys have levels of it, but active, like kind of courting or stalking. Is a very fine line. But, they'll do the thing where, like, guys will start watching girls' Instagram videos relentlessly, just so their name's always at the top of that thing, and this girl may be like, oh, look at who's watching my videos.
The other thing is that we recently discovered a term called mosting, which is where you basically have a full-blown relationship with somebody in the DM, and then you disappear, right? Those are the types of relationships, and they are relationships. My wife explained this to me. I didn't know this. They are relationships in the DM, and when you get to a certain point, it's actually a relationship. It might not be so much for you, but for them, maybe it's more you don't know. So in those situations, you really got to kind of ease out of it, and you got to almost break up with it. You almost have to like break up with your people.
Like, this is really weird, you guys. The fact that this is where we're at in life is just freaking weird.
It is. It's crazy. I mean, I'm telling you, when I got into my relationship with my ex-wife, we had the first like 2 months, because we started and we met, and then a month later it was like official. But I had been single for a decade. So I had a decade of loose ends to tie up, for lack of a better term, like girls around the country that I just built a casual relationship with, depending on what city I was in touring as a stand-up. And they were always, and by the way, all these people I really liked. It's just, you and a girl in Indiana aren't going to really work out. But when you're in Indiana, if she's single and I'm single, sure, let's go hang out after the show or whatever. Like, or let's go out. I mean, I've gone to sporting events and stuff. Like, you look for people to have relationships with in those weekend bases. On a weekend basis, just so you can go do stuff during the day. So you can just sit at a hotel, and you just rot away at the, La Quinta. So I had a lot of those to clean up, and my ex-wife was very into snooping through my social media a lot, like into my computer, reading through messages, reading back, and being upset with the girls that I did have relationships with. She'd be like, I can't even believe you picked this one. I'm like, what the hell's wrong?
As a side note, this is complete side note, and this will end up later in a different podcast after the legal stuff is worked out, I'm sure. But I actually remember a text message from Brian back in that time, right when he first started hanging out with his ex-wife, and the text said, hey, dude, I found her. This is it.
Yup.
This is the one, and she's British. And I was like, dude, I'm so happy for you, because for the decade before that, he was just like, woohoo, party time.
I was like, whatever, man.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. I'm still with mine. And everything's good here. We're doing fine, and love you much. See you when I see you. But I remember it was so weird, the shift that I mean, wow, relationships are crazy.
Relationships are so crazy.
I think it was one of those situations where I just literally decided, like, the next cool girl that understood, or that I thought understood my career in terms of radio and comedy and travel. Like, I just decided, like, okay, I'm in my 30s. The next one is it. And then I was like, this one's so perfect. And I don't even know if it was so much what she was doing. It's just where I was like, had this like fear, like, gotta be a grown up. Here we go.
Yeah.
The next one's it. And she gets it. And I'm ready to do this.
I'm sure we're going to talk more about this later.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
This morning with PB&J. It was great.
Bagel with PB&J?
So good. No? Neither of you? Come
Weird.
on.
No.
It is weird, right?
Disrespectful to the bagels, what it is.
Not bad, huh?
You're listening to The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
My name is Brad Nolan. Brian Moote is the real leader of this program. Go ahead, buddy.
That's true.
I don't know. Perfect.
Kind of. We kind of passed the ball back and forth here.
In the studio with us, too, is Shireen Thor.
Hi, friends.
She's married to Thor.
That's right.
He was like, can you take my last name? And she's like, no, but I'll take your first name.
I mean,
The god of thunder and lightning.
I've talked about that at length with people. Oh, we've talked about this. This came out a discussion recently we had. Everyone's been having, actually, because Chrissy Teigen and the whole taking the last name thing. Did you ever feel the pressure, Shireen, when you got married to take Kenny's or not take Kenny's last name?
You know, a lot of people were surprised I took his last name. I think because I was this crazy rebel girl, they just assumed I would not.
Yeah.
You know?
You seem like the kind who would be like, no, I built this brand on my own name.
It's about me.
Stand on my own 2 feet.
But, you know, I gotta say, there's a lot of, like, traditional values in this little rebel. So I just was always into, like, yeah, we're gonna be a family. Like, and I'm not a person who attaches myself to egoic things. Like, I don't care about a name. Like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, your name, my name, who cares? Like, doesn't matter.
I hated my last name growing up. I just hated it.
It's funny because now you got an entire thing on it. I mean,
yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, Moot.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of forced into. Somebody asked me the other day, like, "Oh, Moot, that's cool, man." So it's like, did you give yourself that name? Because like Moot points and all that. I'm like, no, I just got lucky that Moot means like irrelevant. So it's like for Twitter, it ends up being perfect. Like, yeah, this whole thing is useless. Speaking of that, Brad. Before we get into this other, I have a story about T.J. Miller and that moron. But I decided, because we talked about Dante DiVincenzo from Villanova, the basketball player who, you know, won MVP of the game, of the NCAA championship, and then they found some racist tweets and stuff like that. I decided to go back and look at some of my old tweets, and boy, I have some doozies. Oh, good God. What was the one that I found on accident that it was just horrific? Oh, this joke. It was the movie Joanna Man had a working title of Cheryl Miller's biography. Oh, what are you doing? That is so awful and insensitive, you disgusting person. I deleted it because I don't feel like that anymore.
Is this going to be the kind of show where we never get to anything we plan to talk about?
Probably.
No. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
Let's do a little. What is your social, Brian?
Oh, at Moot Points.
Shireen?
At Shireen Thor.
And mine is at Brad Nolan. We all kept it pretty simple for the most part. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, it's good branding.
Proud of that too.
Website for the show is brianwithbrad.com. It's not weird. I mean, maybe it is weird.
It sounds like we're a couple.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Gross.
Here we have Brian Moote
This better not get me in trouble with my girlfriend.
and Brad Nolan.
No, my wife wants to flip the swinger switch.
Just two boys without man buns.
Let's get back to the is it DiVincenzo? DiVincenzo thing in a second. I want to finish up the does your wife take your last name conversation for a second. My wife still has not taken mine.
Oh.
Nikki Noble.
Nikki Noble is her name.
Does this matter to you?
No.
Not at all.
No, I think it actually matters more to her. But I'm just
Really?
like, do whatever you want.
Okay.
Our names are so similar, though. It's like she's going to have Noble and Nolan.
Yeah.
So it's just like, whatever. My daughter has both of our last names.
She's like rearranging the letters, basically.
Yeah.
Wait.
So
So
close.
how does your daughter's last name go? Is it hyphenated or is it?
So it's Declan Victoria is her middle name. Noble is her second middle name.
Gotcha.
Nolan is her last name.
So basically, it's your last name. She
It's
has
my
your
last name.
Yeah.
But she has Noble in the middle.
I always feel a little bit robbed because I didn't actually get a real last name. Because mine's Brian Keefe Moot, and my mom's last name is Keefe. My dad's last name is Moot, and my mom never changed her name. So I always feel like I should be able to add my own middle name because I kind of got robbed of the cool middle name. Like some people when they have the option of dropping their first name because Brian was like kind of a hit in the early '80s. There's like a ton of us. It was awful. I mean, nothing makes you feel more depressed than when there's like 19 Brians in like a morning show convention, and they're like, hey, and there's 3 shows in there called Brian and somebody.
Mark and Brian, Brian and Bob.
But anytime you add,
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
well, Brian in the front of it is fine. It's anytime Brian, it's and Brian, it just makes it sound like, oh, these guys are going to give you a bunch of self-help, aren't they? Smooth jazz with Brad and Brian.
That's funny. I actually did get to pick my middle names. So
Really? How did that? I mean,
Yeah,
were
how
you
did that
like
work?
a fetus, and you just
Yeah,
were
I was
like,
a-
hey,
You had to earn it like a Native American name.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was born Brad Joseph Gill, Later down the road, my father, I don't think I've seen him in a couple of decades, and I'm only like a few decades old. And
Majority of the decades.
Yeah. At some point, my mom remarried, and then I took that guy's last name. But in the process, the judge said, you can have any name you want.
Whoa, what a cool judge,
You just
man.
write it down here, and then that becomes your name. That's how changing your name works. You don't actually just change your last name. You change your whole name. Just most people keep the first part of it, right? So I was like, I want to be Jim Carrey. My mom's like, come on.
That would have been awesome.
I was like, Kevin Costner. She's like, stop it. You're keeping Brad and you're keeping Joseph. I was like, what's your name, Dad? He's like, William Dean Nolan. I was like, I'll be Brad Joseph William Dean Nolan. He's like, I don't like Dean. And I just hurried up and was like, Brad Joseph William Nolan. And then,
Dude, that's a ton of names, man.
It's a lot of names, dude.
But that's why my daughter has 2 middle names.
I like that tradition of being. I think all kids should be able to pick their middle names. I think if I ever have kids, I'm going to let them pick their own middle names.
That's cool.
When they get old enough, sit them down. They'll be like, I don't have a middle name, Dad. Yeah, you don't, because you get to pick your own right now, Maximus or whatever you want. Today, go on a long nature walk and whatever name comes to you. No, that's great. But then if you ever realize like kids tend to name things like how they look about their physical characteristics, right? So they'd be like, I'm going to be Stinky Foot. And like, no, like a real name.
No, here's the rule, though. Here's the thing. You got whatever they want.
Yeah, you know
so
what?
I would wait till they're like 10 or 11 so they know Stinky Foot's not a good
It'd be
option.
hilarious just to
That's
torture
right.
them with like, yeah, whatever you said, Stinky Foot.
DiVincenzo, go.
So I don't know if we're going to move on to T.J. Miller. Comedian T.J. Miller was arrested last night at LaGuardia Airport, which is basically a garage sale with airplanes, and he was arrested for being charged in federal court for faking a bomb threat. And what happened was, and this dude has been having a meltdown forever. He's been accused of sexual assault when he was in college. He fought a taxi cab driver. He's always in the media for doing something and being a jerk. And I've never had good interactions with him. He's always big timed me in any quick interaction I've had. So I don't really care this guy's in trouble. But apparently he got into a verbal altercation on the train going from D.C. to New York. And with the woman he got in the verbal altercation with, this genius decides, all drunk, he's going to call and report a bomb threat and report it as her. And that they need to check her out. They need to get on. So they end up stopping 2 full-out Amtrak trains and searching them for bombs, costing people thousands of dollars and their time and effort. And upon further investigations, this guy's already off the train. He left in New York. They stopped the trains in Connecticut. They talked to the lady, and the lady's like, dude, we got in an argument. This guy's hammered. He really, he reported me for a bomb? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, he couldn't even see what I was doing because he was saying that her behavior was all dodgy and she kept looking like she wanted to get off the train. And I was like, whoa, what an overreaction.
Yeah, I mean, that is, wow. And just to not at all think of any of the consequences.
For everybody involved. Taxpayers, people on the trains. So right now he's on release on $100,000 bail, and he's looking at potentially 5 years in prison. Which, if they can prove that he did this specifically because he was pissed at this lady and was hammered, he's gonna get jail time. There's no way you can. I mean, there's no way you can do something like that selfishly,
right.
Especially nowadays where we're so hypersensitive. If you see something, say something, and terrorism and bombs and stuff, and you're just gonna go out there and be like, "Yeah, this lady, red hair, red scarf." I'm like, what a jackass.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. The bottom line is that does he now not? He's not gonna work again. Isn't he on a hit show right now, Silicon Valley?
They're talking about he's in Deadpool 2. Silicon Valley, he quit this past year,
okay.
So he did them a solid there. But he's in Deadpool 2, and people right now are clamoring for him to get digitized out of Deadpool 2 because he's just kind of like a side character in it. And I just think when it comes down to it, people don't play around with this type of thing. And you're going to see him just canceling comedy dates left and right, and his agents are going to end up dropping him, as they should. Man, this guy he needs rehab.
Well, did he really quit Silicon Valley? Because I heard that he was terrible to work with. That he showed up late and he made them lose so much money on just losing a full day of shooting, and so they wanted him out.
It's kind of like, you can't fire me because I quit.
Okay, that makes way more sense. Yeah,
That's what I'm gathering. And he's saw the writing on the wall and was like, I'm out. This show sucks anyways.
Here we have Brad Nolan
I think my daughter is probably the coolest thing that I've ever done.
and Brian Moote.
Kids are monsters, and especially when they're honest with you.
Just 2 boys living in a Barbie world. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
I didn't expect this show to become something that does talk about actual issues, like or anything that has anything to do with feelings. But we're definitely getting there, and I kind of enjoy it sometimes because it's good for my brand.
It's good. It's good for your brand.
It's good for my brand.
Make people think
Way
that
to
you're a good
immediately
person.
knock out all the genuineness of that. Like, I want to be a show that's like transparent, talks about our feelings, because I want people to think that I'm that kind of person.
My name is Brad Nolan. The person who just roasted me is Brian Moote. And we also have Shireen in the studio with us. Shireen Thor. She is a life coach.
Sometimes.
And has an anniversary coming up. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
just dropped that little nugget on us.
That's right. 4 years tomorrow, baby.
4 years married tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man. So you guys have like made it.
7 years dating. We're so cute. We like each other a lot. It's fun.
So what do you guys have? Do you guys have something special planned? Are you the kind of person who expects something special planned? Or is he the kind of guy who's like low-key going to do something special?
Okay, I'm not the kind of person who expects something special planned. Strangely, I expect something special on Valentine's more than an anniversary. I don't know why. I
Really?
think
That's
weird.
strange.
Maybe it's like all the like red flower socialization over the years. But yeah, for anniversary, we just talk about what we want to do. We're gonna go do a little overnight at the hotel that we got married at, actually in Redondo. It's gonna be a great time.
So you're ditching the kids?
Ditching the kids.
How old's your youngest?
1.
And you're totally cool just ditching.
Later, dude.
Wow. The second child, though, is that?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
the first
I'm
one,
out.
your daughter, you would have been like, nah.
Yeah, actually, it's so different with your first. You're way more attached. You're way more concerned. You're just way more codependent and crazy. And then with the second one, I mean, not necessarily everybody, but with me, I'm like, later, dude. I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna get a massage. You can just do you. I'm sure you're gonna be all right.
You're like, we didn't break the first one. We got to be doing something right.
Yeah.
I'll never know that. We're not going to have another one, so I'll never have that feeling in my life.
Do you guys ever just leave Declan though and go on a little vacation?
Yeah, we leave her alone at home. There's no sitter or anything.
You just crack a window in the car.
She's very independent.
She's
running
fine.
into the store.
No, we've been really lucky to be around family a lot. Now we're not. So we have to figure out the babysitter game, figure that out. Although someone we work with that person's wife is down to watch all the time. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's got kids that can help entertain too. That's the key on that one. You
Yeah.
gotta have kids run interference on that.
That's right.
So anniversary, just dinner then? Nothing.
Yeah,
really
we're doing
does.
dinner on the day of because it's a Wednesday, but then we're gonna go do the overnight in Redondo where we got married.
You guys gonna
reminisce on things.
You guys gonna
have some sex?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have some sex.
You gonna go looking for kid number 3?
Oh no, that's not happening. No, never.
Brad Nolan is a dad and a Harley rider. Brian Moote is scared of commitment and wears a seatbelt. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Dude, that scared of commitment one, huh?
Did it upset you?
No, this is just
Except for my girlfriend.
This is gonna be a hot podcast for her to listen to. Given I was on the hot seat this morning for some Twitter DMs.
I'll talk to her and just tell her it's about branding. It's no big deal.
Well, it's trying to create. It's creating character differences between the two of us. I'm not afraid to talk. See, the thing I think about that I'm okay with talking about this kind of stuff is that I try to learn from all of it. So it's like, okay, that Twitter DM situation, it's up for debate. I see where she's coming from, but on the other hand, I learned that, hey, look at all my DMs. There's nothing in there that's bad at all. So I have not been a shady dude. And to be honest, this morning there was a point in time where I was like, I don't know how far back those DMs go. And even if they're way before that we were together, you don't want people reading. You don't want people reading those, seeing like, I don't know if I was like hitting on the Tinders, on the Tinder gals and DMing them weird stuff. But I do think what I did learn is when you're trying to balance like a vacation this past weekend with my family in town and stuff, I have a tendency, and I'm not sure if this is like this for your husband or Brad, I don't know if you're like this, but when I get too overwhelmed with trying to like juggle too many things in the air at one time, like make sure my godson's happy, my mom's happy, my brother's happy, my girlfriend's happy, she ends up being ignored to a certain extent because I trust that she's like more on board with me and what's going on because of our relationship than I am for the other ones, though she brought it up to me that I should be concerned about her because they're my family and they have to love me. And I was like, fair. I'm still earning yours. They have to love me no matter what.
It's a good point, actually. But I think dudes are like this where they just focus on the problems. Like, the second she starts to, like, pick a fight with you, all of a sudden she has all your attention and you're wanting to, like, put the fire out. But if she's cool, you're just, like, ignoring her because you're like, yeah, she's great. Like, my husband does that to me a lot. Like, I'm great. I hold it down. We're good. And then, like, at some point I'm like, bro, okay, like, I'm good. I'm glad I'm good. Like, yay me. But, like, can I get a hell yeah or an amen or something? And he's like, oh. But it's only when I cause a problem that he knows to, like, redirect his attention. It's kind of an annoying dude quality.
I've never thought about that before, but it is the process of the meltdown and putting out the fire is where, like, a guy will go, oh, yeah, I screwed that up.
Oops.
Oh, my God, this whole time I just thought you were good. And I wasn't actually, like... I wasn't taking the time to say, like, hey, thank you for being so go with the flow, easy breezy about that.
I think it goes a little bit further than that, too, not just in this situation, but in all situations when, like, my wife brings a problem. She goes, oh, I have this thing going on, and I'm like, I'll fix it. And then I try to dive in and fix it. She's like, dude, I can fix it. I can do it on my own, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's another time where she's like, why aren't you trying to fix this? So it's like a weird thing. I mean, the way I handle family in town is I ignore everybody.
Wow. Maybe
what a sweetheart. Is that on brand?
Family comes into town. Brad has to work a lot.
Just going to be out, just do whatever.
And then when they're gone, my wife goes, I had to handle your family a lot. I'm like, good job.
You really nailed it. It's funny, I feel like sometimes in those situations, like, you get in trouble when you either plan too much or you don't plan enough. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't, like, if I didn't have everything planned out and, like, moving people everywhere and, like, my godson's going here. No one wants to go to Knott's Berry Farm because they didn't, but I was going to take my godson. It was like, okay, we're going to be at Knott's Berry Farm when they open those frigging doors at 10. We'll be walking through those doors and we're getting fast passes. We're hitting all these rides and we're going to be back by 1:30 in the afternoon because I want to spend time with everybody. But it's like if I didn't plan any of that stuff and we're all just sitting around, then it would be like, Brian, you didn't plan anything. So I feel like there's a fine line between planning too much and not planning enough. And I just plow right through that like the Kool-Aid man. Like, what's up, everybody? And everyone's like, what? And afterwards, she points it out to me. I'm like, oh, you're a real idiot there. Because like at one point in time, she flat out said to me, we're going to Balboa Island. And I thought she was doing that to like run interference for my mom to get my godson out of the water who was like walking to the beach. And I was like, no, we're good. We're going swimming. But I didn't realize she wasn't asking me a question. She was telling me I want to go to Balboa Island. It wasn't until she walked me through that interaction where I was like, oh, you're right. You weren't asking me. You were telling me what we were doing. And I just kind of walked off, went swimming. That's got to be a real slap in the face. Mm-hmm. Glad you're bringing it up now.
Yeah, just to talk about this even more in contrast with you and me. There was a point in my relationship where I was so scared to make decisions that I'd just be like, whatever you want, because I had messed up so much in the beginning of relationships. And I was like, I got no legs to stand on, so just whatever you need. And then at some point she goes, no, I want you to take charge. I want you to make all the decisions. But then for a solid year, I'd be like, we're doing this, and I'm the man of the house. And she would be like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, but you said I can make the decisions. It's like this whole, and you just plowed over her in this situation.
There's nothing worse than batting with two strikes when you start a relationship. Oh. I know we talked about that gray area a few segments ago where it's like you're already kind of in trouble on the way into the relationship because no matter what, there's no such thing as a clean slate. So at some point in time, like 25, 30 years from now, I'm going to be an old man not even using the internet, and these DM conversations are going to be rear their ugly heads again, and then I'm going to be stuck doing something I don't want to do, like going to Balboa Island. I feel good. I feel like I really got that out right there.
I'm so proud of you.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Johnny got a toy golf set when he was 3, and from that day on, he was hooked. All he wanted to do was golf, golf, golf. He'd be on the links before school, after school. All he ever wanted was to go pro. And then, one day, when he was holding his grandson and thinking about his 12 handicap, Johnny realized it just might not happen for him. But you know what did happen for him? He switched to Geico and saved a bunch of money on car insurance. So that was good, and so was hanging out with his grandson.